Good morning folks, and welcome to yet another video in the pricking iron review. I have here something special. Now, I've been speaking with Sean at fineleatherworking.com in the States about these irons for some time, and the last order that he put in a few extra and sent them to me. So I have here 4 irons. Now, they are 4 different irons. We have pricking irons, which are the 2 that we see here. We have all irons, which are round, diamond irons, which work like the stitching irons, and thonging irons, which, self-explanatory, we can thong with. They are quite unique. They are different, yet they do a similar sort of job. The thonging irons, I don't do a massive amount of thonging. I will probably have a play with those as I've got them anyway. The diamond irons, I find that they are brilliant for beginners and intermediaries to perfect their, or learn and perfect their stitching. However, I've never seen a set of stitching irons to this degree. And then we have the all irons with a series of round holes. Now, that in itself is unique because it's very difficult to find a high quality set of rounded irons for stitching properly. And you would use those for when you reverse stitch, or if you do piping seams on the inside of a seam, and we'll have a look at that. In this video, however, for now, I'm going to concentrate on the pricking iron. Hopefully I will have time and I will touch on all the irons in an individual video. I just wanted to show you all of them together, to show you what I've got here. And he's also sent me a Doldokki awl as well. Left-handed, which is awesome. I'm having a play with that. A little bit of getting used to because it's much bigger in the hand, but nonetheless it actually works really, really well. Now, the question in relation to these irons, how much? The 10 tooth 3mm stitching iron, 10 tooth 3mm pricking iron that this is, will set you back $299. The 2-tooth version will set you back $89. So that's a set of these for $289 or $88, £299.48. That's the current rate of exchange at the moment. That's a lot of money. Do these tools justify that cost? There's only one way to find out. They are exceptionally well made. There is a little bit of an odd grind to these that took me by surprise when I first got them. However, I have grown to appreciate that offset angle, and I find that I'm using the iron the same way round every time, the flat away from me, the angle towards me, and that's assisting me in keeping this tool upright for the stitching, and I'm liking that now. I am liking that. I've used these for a while. They produce a very, very fine, high quality stitch, and you need to be using a good quality leather, a good quality thread to complement what they can give you. You're going to be using linen. If I were to use the tiger thread, it will likely to be the 0.5, 0.4, something fine and delicate to really show off the quality of this stitch. They're made from D2 tooling steel, which is pretty impressive stuff. I've had a knife for 30 odd years made from D2 tooling steel, and I don't think it's ever needed sharpening. They're also hardened as well, so these things are built to last. Yes, they're a lot of money. No, I don't think they're for the beginner. That being said, with the stitching irons, if you wanted to have that level of investment from the outset, you can learn to stitch with those irons and work your way up. And the stitching iron will help you stitch, teach you how to stitch, to develop then onto the pricking irons, the thonging, and this is for reverse stitching, internal seams, so that's slightly different. But you need to go straight into the pricking iron a level of skill. You're going to need good command of the awl, and you're going to be borderline professional. You're going to be making money from your leather work to justify the cost of these. But if you are producing high-end gear with price tags to suit, you can justify a tool of this caliber if the tool is producing exactly what you want it to. So what we're going to do, we're going to come away from the board and we are going to make some holes. So let's cut to that and have a look and see how this performs. Initially I was going to choose a nice fine thin leather to stitch, but I thought no, let's really test these irons on video, and I have a piece of 4.5mm thick bridle. Let's really push the boundaries, because I thought what I could do is use some hemp. It's not linen. I've been told hemp is 4 times stronger than linen, and this is the equivalent of 432, which is about 0.5mm, there or thereabouts. Linen I snap. Hemp, I haven't snapped it yet. I'm getting on with that. And I'm also going to really push the boundaries. I know it's 9 stitches per inch, but I'm going to throw some of the 0.6 yellow tiger thread at it, because I want to see what happens. I'm curious, and the best place to be curious is on video, so we can all see the results. So 9 stitches per inch, D2 tooling steel, Rockweld hardened to 60. It's a fair fit. Its proper name, SKD11 D2 tool steel, hardened to 60 Rockwell. Fine brushed finish. Teeth down to a very nice sharp 2mm wide point, giving a very fine hole. Happy days. Yeah, a lot of money. Reconciling that with, $300 for that, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But it does a lot of work. If you're looking at high-end stuff, you're making money out of your leather work, you've got to produce the best that you can. So let's have a look at the best this can produce. And I would suggest that if this produces a stitch to a sufficient standard, and you're making bags, £2,000-3,000 a piece, you can lose the cost of a set of irons in each bag, and you can build it up in no time. It's relative, isn't it? I'm just going to drop that light down a little bit more because I need to see the back, because I've got to change my glasses. Age, folks, it's the youngsters you need to take over. Right, so place that on board, give it a smack. Look at that, how's that for consistent? Let's overlap a few. And continue on. Now I'm going to do a full row here. However, I'm not going to stitch the entire row. I'm going to stitch the first, in fact I shall stop there. I shall stitch the first half with the hemp, and then the second half I shall go for the tiger thread, just to have a look and see what happens. But I've got to say, folks, $300 for a tool and a few seconds work. I'm not picking that up again, that's done. Seems crazy, but let me just get a cloth on that wax, because it's covered in wax. It's bridle leather. Just clean that off a little bit. Look at those holes. How consistent is that? That it's stages, isn't it? What we do here affects what we do there, and what we do there affects what we do there, and so on. If we have a poor cut, we have a poor line. If we have a poor line, we have a poor row of holes. If we have a poor row of holes, we have a poor stitch. If we have a poor stitch, we have a poor item. You get in the picture. Straight cut, straight line, straight row, good stitch. Better quality holes, better quality stitch. They all mesh together. Let's take this to the clam. Let's have a look at how it stitches, and let's have a look at how this Doldokki awl works. This one's left-handed. You can buy them left and right-handed, but let's have a play and see what happens. Drop that down a fraction. I'm not going to bother with a back stitch. We just want to see how the stitching works. And that's a snug hole. That you can just feel is gripping the thread. The point of this awl is nice and sharp, but the body is not, which means the hole will close up around the thread in time, and we can add a nice bit of tension. Now I'm stitching left-handed because it's a left-handed awl, and I'm stitching left-hand priority. I think, to be fair, I'd be tempted to follow the awl back through, but I've started, so I shall finish this way. And I'm getting a nice feel. The size, I mean, the awl is working with the iron's working with the leather. The thread matches nicely. You can feel that. I can feel, you can't, but that hole is snugging the needle. It's gripping it. It's a small hole. It's a fine stitch. I'm not going in very far with the awl blade. I don't want to make the hole too big. Maybe when I come to use the tiger thread, which is a much fatter thread, 0.6mm tiger thread looks good at 9 stitches per inch, but it needs a slightly bigger hole. So that may not work with this iron. This could be a linen iron, because the hole is a lot finer than the Blanchard ones. You put them side by side, they look similar, but the teeth are fatter on the Blanchard, encouraging you to make a larger hole. Whereas I do like this very, very sleek and fine look to this iron. We are looking at a high level here. Folks, if you're just starting out, Doldokki do the stitching irons, and we will have a look at those in due course. But you are going to need a good command of the awl. Get your practice in first. It's a lot of money to invest at the outset to have such a wonderful tool and then struggle to use it because your skill set just isn't sufficient for the tools that you need. So this isn't a beginner's tool. You are looking at a good adept, intermediary and an advanced stitcher. I'm getting on with this. You can probably see the stitching better than I can. I haven't been to the optician. I do need new glasses. I've made the mistake of stitching black on black, so I'm taking my time so I can find the hole, because I know what will happen if I try and speed up. Oh, there we go. That's why I don't stitch it. Now this is supposed to be 4 times the length, or 4 times the strength of linen. Still break it. So that's our row of stitching done there. Perfect opportunity to show you how to deal with a broken thread, but that's another video, another time. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take this off, have a look at it, and then I'm going to tap it down, and then we can see our thoughts and feelings. So, and hold it steady. How's that? 9 stitches per inch, 4/32 thread that snaps. I am stitching bridle. I did put a lot of tension on it. That's my own fault. If you were stitching something fine, you wouldn't be putting as much tension on as I did. But you can't see the holes. All you can see there is the thread. How lovely is that? You can barely see the back because it's black on black. But folks, not too shabby. Right, let me set up with the tiger thread and have a look at that, give you more of a contrast. All set up, same needles, John James number 4, same iron, same awl, different thread. Take that down a fraction. A thread I can't break. We'll just centre that up. Again, I'm not going to bother with a back stitch in this situation. We just want to see what the stitching looks like, and then we will carry on as normal. Now I can feel that hole really gripping that thread to the point of this thread almost fills the hole. So no, I'm quite happy with that. It goes through. I thought I was going to have a bit of a fight on my hands, but no, that sails through. I can put as much tension on this thread as I want and not worry about it breaking. Wrong side. I think you've got to be quite conscious about the thread that you use. A slightly larger thread, it makes the hole a little harder to navigate, and that can have an impact on your stitch if you get it the wrong way round. But nonetheless, you can hear the thread whistling through. That's where the hole is gripping it. A very fine hole, slightly larger thread. This is going to be a tight stitch. I'd like to think you have an idea of the stitching from that angle. What I am going to do, I'm going to change the angle slightly so you can see more of what I'm doing here. You can see there how much I'm going through, and you can probably hear a little better this thread squeaking through the hole. A loose hole that's too large, you won't hear that. I'm really enjoying using these irons. I was speaking with Sean at Fine Leather Working. They're the only distributor for the Doldokki tools, and I have to admit I was thinking, wow, that's a lot of money. It's going to have to be pretty damn special to justify that sort of cost. But really, when you look at the level of stitch it produces, if you can put that level of stitch onto an item, then you can command a very reasonable price tag. And at which point then the cost of the tool gets swallowed up because you're producing a higher level. I am liking these. I think I may take them to the mop and polish them up a little more. I think for $299 they could have polished them up. See, that hole just wasn't quite enough. They could have possibly polished them up a little bit more. I have 9 SPI. I would use these. I will use these. I do use these. They are lovely irons to use. Folks, it's one of those, isn't it? If you're producing a high quality stitch with the tools that you have and you're satisfied, then that's sufficient. If you are looking at developing and upgrading, then the material that these tools are made of are going to keep them sharp. You're never going to have to sharpen these. You saw how little we used them. You're not going to break them. They are phenomenally hard. They're going to last you a lifetime. And the initial pain of the outlay right at the beginning, well, that's going to disappear. The joy of quality and being able to stitch to a higher level, well folks, that's going to last a lifetime. Now, this is a tester. I am at the end going to do a back stitch. I suggest I am really going to struggle with this, but the more you struggle with the back stitch, the tighter that back stitch is locked in. Yep, so I'm going to fall back to the pliers, soft metal pliers, jeweller's or dentist. Set myself up again, come back for a return. That is really, really tight. I've got 2 threads or 3 threads and a needle in there, and that is a task. And then I shall just return the front to the back. That is almost closing up already. But that in itself is telling you that leather's not going to let go of that thread. Folks, I'm going to snip this thread off. I am going to tap down the stitching, and then we will come back to the camera and have a look from there. So that is the Doldokki pricking iron, 9 stitches per inch with 0.6mm braided polyester tiger thread. That is the same iron with 432 snappable hemp. They both produce a beautiful stitch. That's a heavy thread. That's a heavy thread in this hole, but nonetheless, it's given a good account of itself. The look of it, you can look at that, and you can look at many other irons and say, well, I don't really see a massive difference. It is the quality of the hole that's just as important as the quality of the stitch. And you heard that thread fighting the hole. You could hear that the hole was small enough to grip the thread as it was sliding through. That means that's an exceptionally tight stitch. When that flexes, I mean, if that was a seam on a saddle or a bridle or a harness, that thread is not sawing at the leather, so therefore not going to cut the leather, and it's not going to wear the thread, because that thread is moving with the leather. It's not allowing to slide through the hole. And that's what you're paying for, that level of quality, that level of strength in your stitch, not just the look. It's what you can't see, but what it does that counts. And this iron gives you that. I thought Blanchard and Dixon's gave me that, but this seems to be a much, much smaller hole and gives me a far better representation. I'm happy with that. I did have a piece of leather floating around. If you bear with me off camera just for a brief moment. Here we go. Now, this was a play I did the other day. Now, the bottom one is the Doldokki 9 SPI. The top is the Blanchard 9 SPI, and you can see, I mean, that's where I've drawn it to get the angle of the tooth. You can see that the Blanchard irons are actually much larger, and that does make a difference. And bearing in mind, when you look at the industry standard of the Dixons, even bigger. So yes, you're paying more money, and let me come back to the bench for this. So three irons, 3 pricking irons as an example. Doldokki, Dixon, Blanchard. They all do the same job, but they all do the same job a slightly, it's fractioned a different way. I mean, these two were because they've gone, but industry standard still are, because you've got workshops up and down the country still using them. They haven't changed over just because the company closed. They just haven't replaced any. They do the job, and to a very, very satisfactory level, as do Blanchard. Do an awesome job. They give a beautiful stitch. This just gives a little bit of a tighter stitch. But presentation wise, 60 quid, 150 quid, 300 quid. This is double this. It's a lot of money. This is double this. So, by that rationale then, double. If you want quality, if you want something that's going to last a lifetime, these will last a lifetime. What am I saying? Even if they're milder steel, they still last. I mean, you're finding these 60, 70 years on. You will find these for 100 years on. They will last. It's good quality gear. It's good quality material. It's well made. It's handmade. It's down to your pocket and your thoughts and feelings. I think they're awesome. I think they are expensive. I will agree with that. But they do a beautiful job. I'm very happy with the quality of the stitch that they produce. That is very nice, very consistent and tight. And that's important. That tight stitch will make an awful lot of difference on saddles, bridles, harnesses. Even over time, when you've got bags that you will fill and loose and throw over your shoulder, it will stop the thread from wearing. I've harped up long enough. This is the Doldokki pricking iron. It's pretty good. Yeah, I like it. I like the awl. I'm having fun with it, and I'm going to use it. It's a cracking little tool. I will leave you to make your own mind up, folks. But that being said, if you decide to spend 300 quid on a set, and you can justify that, you won't be disappointed. They are amazing. Take care, folks.